The harder you chase love, the faster it runs from you. The woman who texts a man first thing in the morning, who asks, "How was your day?" every evening, who remembers his doctor's appointments better than he does, she's invisible to him. But the woman who lives her Tuesday like he doesn't exist, he can't stop thinking about her. Are you a woman over 60 who's given more than she's received in love? If your heart is tired from trying to hold on to someone who isn't ready, then this video is for you. I'm Vernon, and in the next few minutes, I'll reveal 4 psychological principles that turn your emotional distance into his emotional urgency. This isn't about playing games. This is about remembering your worth. Before we dive deep into this transformation, hit that like button and subscribe, because after 60, it's time to stop settling, start thriving, and never miss a single video on love, wise boundaries, and the kind of emotional clarity that honors the woman you've become. Let's begin with the first principle that reclaims your peace, because the way you show up emotionally sets the tone for how others show up for you. Number 1, detachment is not indifference, it's emotional ownership. Here's where most women get it wrong. They think detachment means becoming cold, unfeeling, emotionally unavailable. They confuse detachment with indifference, and that's why their attempts fail. Real detachment isn't about shutting down your heart. It's about owning your emotional responses so completely that you stop handing other people the remote control to your inner peace. When I say detach, I mean you stop making his mood your weather. You stop interpreting his silence as rejection. You stop turning his busy day into evidence that you're not important enough. Detachment means you care about him, but you care about your own emotional stability more. This is revolutionary for women over 60 because we've spent decades being emotional managers, managing our husband's stress, our children's disappointments, everyone's comfort except our own. We've trained ourselves to read every micro-expression, to adjust our energy based on someone else's temperature. But when you detach correctly, something profound happens. You become unpredictable in the best way. He can't read your next move because your next move isn't dependent on his last one. You respond from your center, not from your wounds. Men are wired to chase what retreats and take for granted what pursues. This isn't manipulation, it's psychology. When you stop being emotionally available on demand, when you stop being the woman who's always fine with whatever he decides, you become the woman he has to actually consider. I've watched women transform their entire romantic lives simply by stopping the emotional negotiations. No more "are we okay" conversations. No more analyzing his text response time. No more explaining why you deserve basic respect. You know what happens? He starts initiating those conversations. He starts wondering if you're okay. He starts explaining himself to you. The shift isn't about becoming mean or withholding. It's about becoming so internally secure that external validation becomes optional, not essential. You're not rejecting love. You're rejecting the exhausting job of convincing someone to love you properly. When you own your emotional responses completely, when you stop outsourcing your peace to his behavior,
You radiate something men can't ignore. A woman who knows her worth without needing constant confirmation. Save this video now because these 4 principles will become your roadmap back to romantic dignity. This isn't theory. This is practical psychology that works. The beautiful truth is this: when you stop chasing his approval, you start attracting his attention. When you stop managing his emotions, he starts managing his behavior around you. And once you stop chasing his emotional weather, something fascinating begins to shift in him and in you.
Number 2, he feels your shift before you announce it. Every woman has a story about the moment she realized her peace was being held hostage by someone else's inconsistency. Angela, 59, a divorced friend of mine, lived that story for far too long. Every evening she sat with her phone in hand, waiting for his text reply. She'd send a simple, "How was your day?" around 6 p.m., and by 8, she'd be spiraling. Was he just busy? Was he losing interest? Should she follow up? Should she wait? Her evenings became emotional minefields paved with unanswered messages. Then one Thursday, something clicked. She put her phone in the kitchen drawer and took a bath instead. She didn't announce this change. She didn't send a message saying, "I'm giving you space." She just stopped waiting. By Saturday, he was calling. Not texting, calling. "Hey, haven't heard from you. Everything okay?" As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "How much trouble he avoids who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does," I told her when she shared this story. You stopped watching his every move, and suddenly he started watching yours. This illustrates something crucial about male psychology. Men operate on energy more than words. They feel your shift in attention before you verbalize it. When you stop orbiting around their schedule, their mood, their responsiveness, they sense the gravitational change immediately. Women think they need to announce their boundaries, explain their standards, negotiate their worth. But energy doesn't need explanation. Energy just is.
Men interpret emotional distance as a sign that you have other options, other sources of fulfillment, other places your attention could go. This creates what psychologists call scarcity value. Suddenly, access to you isn't guaranteed. The mistake women make is thinking they have to explain this shift. "I've decided I need more space. I think we should communicate less frequently. I need you to be more consistent." No, your energy shift is the message. Your new unavailability is the communication. When you stop being the woman who's always there, always responding, always accommodating, you become the woman he has to earn access to. Angela didn't need to have a conversation about respect. Her new behavior demanded it automatically. She wasn't angry or cold. She was simply unavailable for low-effort connections. Her time became valuable because she started treating it as valuable. The psychological principle here is profound. When you withdraw your emotional labor without drama or explanation, men don't experience it as rejection. They experience it as challenge. And psychologically, we're all more motivated to pursue what we might lose than to maintain what we're guaranteed to keep. 3 months later, Angela wasn't waiting for texts anymore because he was initiating most of them. He wasn't just asking about her day anymore. He was making plans, showing up consistently, treating her time as the precious resource it always was. The shift wasn't in his character. The shift was in what she was willing to accept. And somehow, when she stopped accepting breadcrumbs, he started bringing the whole meal.
Number 3. Your silence is louder than your reminders. The quieter you become, the more you are able to hear, taught the ancient philosopher Ram Dass. But I'll add this: the quieter you become, the more he's forced to listen to his own conscience about how he's treating you. Your silence is the most powerful communication tool you have after 60. Not angry silence, not passive-aggressive silence. Strategic, peaceful silence that says, "I've said what I needed to say. Now I'm living according to my standards, not negotiating them." Think about how exhausting it's been. The reminders, the conversations about effort, the explanations of what you need. "I wish you'd call more. It would be nice if you planned something. I don't feel like a priority." Over and over, requesting what should be automatic in someone who values you. When you stop asking for effort, the lack of effort becomes impossible to ignore. When you stop reminding him how to treat you properly, his poor treatment echoes in the silence. Most women are terrified of this silence because we've been conditioned to believe that relationships require constant maintenance, endless communication, perpetual emotional labor. We think if we're not actively managing the connection, it will disappear. But the opposite is true. When you stop managing, you discover what naturally exists. When you stop requesting, you see what he naturally gives. When you stop explaining what you deserve, his conscience starts explaining it to him. Men respond to distance more than dialogue. They respond to absence more than presence. They respond to what they might lose more than what they're guaranteed to keep.
Your silence after he cancels plans last minute, more effective than any conversation about respect. Your absence from his inbox when he's been sporadic, more powerful than any discussion about consistency. Your unavailability when he wants to see you on his terms only, more educational than any lecture about reciprocity. This isn't about punishment. This is about natural consequences. When someone doesn't water a plant, the plant doesn't argue with them about watering schedules. It simply responds to the lack of care by withdrawing its vibrancy. Eventually, the person notices and either starts watering properly or accepts responsibility for letting something beautiful wither. Your silence teaches what your words couldn't. It shows him what life looks like when you stop compensating for his low effort. It reveals the gap between what he says he values and how he actually behaves. The beauty of strategic silence is that it's self-selecting. Men who truly value you will respond by increasing their effort, their consistency, their intentionality. Men who don't value you will respond by maintaining their low effort, and you'll have your answer without having to extract it through endless conversations. What's one thing you stopped chasing, and what happened after? Comment below and share your experience with this community of women who are choosing dignity over desperation. Now, for the final truth, detachment isn't about pulling away from him. It's about returning fully to yourself.
Number 4. Detachment is devotion to your own peace. True detachment is devotion to your own peace. It's understanding that your emotional stability is not a collaborative project. It's not mean, it's not selfish, it's necessary. After 60, we've earned the right to prioritize our own emotional temperature. We've spent decades being emotional thermostats for everyone else. We've adjusted our settings to accommodate everyone's comfort except our own. But when you become devoted to your own peace, when you make your emotional well-being non-negotiable, something magnetic happens. You become the calm center that others want to move toward, not the anxious energy they want to move away from. Men are drawn to women who have their own gravitational pull. They're attracted to women who don't need them to complete their day, their mood, their sense of worth. They're magnetically pulled toward women who are whole without them and simply choose to share that wholeness. In the house next to mine lived a woman who always seemed cheerful until you looked closer. Her name was Clara, 62. Clara used to plan her entire day around her partner's energy. If he woke up grumpy, she'd spend her morning trying to fix his mood. If he was stressed about work, she'd cancel her own plans to be available for his venting session. If he was happy, then she could finally relax and be happy too. Clara was living as an emotional satellite, orbiting around his center instead of her own. Then something shifted. Clara started creating days centered on her own joy, not his inconsistency. Tuesday pottery class, regardless of his schedule. Saturday morning walks, regardless of his mood. Evening reading time, regardless of his need for company. The transformation wasn't just in her schedule, it was in her energy. She stopped being a woman who was available for emotional management and became a woman who was committed to her own emotional well-being. Within weeks, something beautiful happened. He stopped expecting her to regulate his emotions because she wasn't available for that job anymore. He started managing his own moods because she wasn't there to manage them for him. Most importantly, he started respecting her time because she had made it clear that it was valuable. Clara's partner didn't lose access to her care. He lost access to using her as his emotional regulation system. He didn't lose her love. He lost her availability for one-sided emotional management. The result? Their relationship became more balanced because she was no longer carrying the emotional weight for both of them. It became more respectful because her peace was no longer up for negotiation. It became more attractive to him because she was no longer accessible for taking for granted. This is the deepest level of detachment. Not detaching from love, but detaching from the exhausting job of earning love through emotional labor. Not detaching from connections, but detaching from connections that drain your peace instead of enhancing it. Peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding, Einstein once observed. The understanding here is simple. Your peace is your responsibility, and protecting it isn't selfish, it's essential. When you detach with devotion to your own emotional well-being, you don't lose love. You lose the wrong kind of love and make space for the right kind.
So there you have it. 4 principles that transform how men respond to you. Detachment is emotional ownership, not indifference. He feels your energy shift before you announce it. Your silence teaches what words couldn't. And true detachment is devotion to your own peace. When you detach, you're not walking away from love. You're walking back to your dignity. And from there, the right love finds you differently. The man who's meant for you won't be repelled by your standards. He'll be inspired by them. He won't be threatened by your peace. He'll want to contribute to it. He won't be confused by your detachment. He'll be motivated to earn your attachment. At 60 and beyond, you have the wisdom to know that love shouldn't cost you your peace, your dignity, or your self-respect. You have the experience to recognize that the right person will add to your life, not require you to subtract from yourself to accommodate them. A woman in harmony with her spirit is like a river flowing. She goes where she will without pretense and arrives at her destination prepared to be herself and only herself, Maya Angelou reminds us. What's one insider story this video brought to mind for you? I'd love to hear your perspective. Share it in the comments below. And while you're here, take a second to like and subscribe so you'll never miss the reflections that remind you just how worthy you already are. And I'm Vernon. Thanks for watching my video.